Segment 3, Gold and Black Live, Stuart Schweigert. This is your first appearance, I think,
ever
on this show.
Yeah.
You've self-actualized. This is like this is the mountain for you. No, actually not. That'll be at 4 o'clock.
The pinnacle.
The pinnacle. This is it. But Stuart joins us. Segment 3, Gold and Black Live. Want to thank our sponsors: Hilton Garden Inn, Triple X, and of course John Basham, the good folks at Basham Rental, and State Farm agent Trent Johnson at TrentIsMyAgent.com. We thank them for sponsoring our show. Stuart, you know, this is in a crazy time of year because it's time for football again, and you've obviously been involved in your day job. One of your day jobs is radio host 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.7, The Hammer, and then also doing high school football. But we'll start. My first question is just about Purdue football here. You've watched, been around since you came in 2000. Pretty exciting around here in terms of where you see what you see.
You know, it is. And, the last 10 years I've been up in Michigan, and it's hard to talk Purdue football up there, and especially when the team's not doing so well. And I'll be honest with you and the fans, some of those games were hard to watch. Oh, yeah. I'm not a huge sports guy. I don't watch a lot of sports. Don't watch NFL. Getting into it now a little bit more. So Saturdays was always our day.
Yeah.
Recorded the games, did all the stuff during the day, yard work, stuff with the kids. And then in the evenings, my wife ran track here at Purdue, so we all put our Purdue stuff on. I got little 9 jerseys for my kids, and so it's a big event for us.
Who was number 9? Oh,
Eric Hunter, and who else was it?
That was before Drew Brees. Right?
Mark Herman, right?
Okay.
So Lorenzo Neal Jr. So that's a big day for us. But unfortunately, there were games where by the second quarter, you pretty much knew the game was wrapped up. And the thing that really concerned, and I don't want to talk about that era, but the thing that concerned me was the mistakes that were being made. There just were no corrections being made. There wasn't the coaching that you like to see. And one thing, with me doing the high school sports around here, I went to each school during camp, and people asked, what schools did you like? And there were certain schools I liked a little bit more than others because I saw coaches coach.
Yeah.
And people think, well, what do you mean coaches coach? Well, there's coaches, sometimes they sit back and they're not really vocal, and I like coaches that are active. And you can see on our sidelines last year, the biggest difference I saw was there were coaches coaching, engaging the players. Players were making corrections. After a play's done or after a series is done, that offense or defense or special teams is running to the sideline. They're huddling up. The coaches are drawing stuff on the dry erase boards. They're getting calls from the press box. So I really enjoyed that. And you could tell that those players, one, believed in the system that the coaches were putting them, buying into what they were selling. 2, they were understanding the information and retaining it. So I think the coaches simplified things. One thing through my many years of college and pro and me getting into the coaching ranks a little bit and just going around and talking to coaches, sometimes these coaches feel like the bigger playbook they have, the better coach they are, the more terminology. And I don't think that's true because if the players can't get it, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Absolutely.
They always say, coaching or football is an easy sport, but coaches blank it up, right? And I think these coaches are simplifying things. And we did an interview with Navon Mosley, and he talked about last year, a lot of it was learning. Well, now he knows it.
Yeah.
So now it's second nature. So he can go out there and let his athletic ability play because he's not sitting there thinking about what he has to do. He knows what he has to do. And that's the evolution of a football player. I always say this. First one, you got to be in shape.
Yeah.
If you're tired out there, you can't get the play, you can't get back in the huddle, it's not going to do anybody good. Once you're in shape, then you learn your responsibility. You've got to know what your job is first. Once you're cool with that, you learn what the guy next to you is doing. Then after that, you learn what the guy in front of you is doing. Once you get all that done, then it's when you become a playmaker because now, before the play, you're starting to think about what the offense is doing. But if you go back to all, and they have to go in order. I mean,
you can't do one without the other.
If you're not knowing what you're doing on defense, you're definitely not going to know what your teammates doing, and you're definitely not going to be focused on what the offense is doing. So once you can get into that situation where you got players, their responsibility is good. They know where this guy is going to be. Now it's okay. They're in this personnel on this part of the field. 90% chance they're probably going to run this play, and that's when you start seeing the defense make plays, and you can convert that to the offense as well.
You had an interesting experience in your freshman year at Purdue in 2000 with a young defense. A lot of you were a true freshman, but you had a number of, you had Craig Terrell, you had Sean Phillips, you had others that were redshirt freshmen. Similar situation, Purdue fans can only hope that they're as successful, or at least as opportunistic as your unit was in 2000. But tell me what a young defense has to do to be at a level that that you can kind of manufacture what you need done defensively to compete at this level.
Well, again, you go back to that 2000 year. You had me playing. You had Jock Reeves, who was a true freshman. Landon Johnson, who was a redshirt.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gardner, who was a true freshman. Craig Taylor, redshirt. Sean Phillips. And you're looking like, and we were one of the top defenses in the Big Ten that season. But you also look at that as you had young guys, but you had guys like Aiken Ayadel, Matt Mitrione, Chris Clopton, Ben Smith, Jason Lorzell, guys that were juniors and seniors who were leaders, who took our athleticism and really showed us how to be productive, not only on the field, but being productive in the community, in the classroom, which that all plays into it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be, there's kind of three things, and you have to really be available to all three of those things. So it takes the mixture of some great seniors, and not really even seniors, but guys that have played. And you look at it to this year, the comparison, you have Bailey, Jacob Thieneman, Lorenzo Neal Jr., and we've got good guys at each level of football that can say, let's take this talent, and those guys are going to be able to round those guys up and be coaches on the field.
Yeah.
So it's a huge advantage that we have those guys, and I think, defense was a question mark last year, and obviously we lose. I don't know how many guys we lost last year, 5 or 6, but I think we've got an opportunity to be even better than we were last year, because we've got guys, I think, with more athleticism. And now you take those guys along with Coach Holt and his staff, combining that with the again, not seniors, but the veteran players and those young guys. I think you're going to see a fired-up defense. Now, they're going to make mistakes. There's going to be some blown coverage and stuff, but I also think we're going to have some big plays.
Okay, and from a coordinator perspective, you played with a pretty fiery guy in Brock Spack.
Oh, yeah.
But you would have liked to play with Nick Holt, too, I would assume.
I would, yeah. Obviously Brock Spack, I speak to Brock probably once a week.
Yeah.
He recruited me out of Michigan, so I've known Brock,
Love Brock.
20 years, 21 years.
Yeah.
And I stay in contact with him. Actually, a little side note, my nephew up in Michigan went down to Brock Spack's camp this summer, was defensive player of the camp, and actually got offered a scholarship, so I'm excited about that.
Good program, too.
Yeah. But Brock Spack was the guy, blue-collar guy, and I've had a chance to talk with Nick Holt. And, again, Nick Holt is the guy that holds his players accountable. He has a certain expectations of his players, and if you don't meet those expectations, he's going to put somebody else in there. And I think that's what you need. Players need to know that, hey, at practice, I need to bust my butt. And one thing I've kind of been on this kind of my soapbox about players, and I've heard some comments around the country about I'm not a practice guy.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you can do that. I mean, there's maybe 1 or 2 players that I may have played. You're talking Randy Moss, Michael Vick, guys like that, but even those guys have to work at practice. And one thing we were talking about, me and Clayton on the show that we had yesterday, was the competition in practice. And that all stems from your coordinator. If he's letting guys loaf and he's not on top of you, as a young kid, you're not going to do that yourself. That has to be trained in you. And when you have a coach telling you, run to the ball, strip the ball, make tackles, and they're not going to put up with anything but your best, it's going to make everybody better. I think that's the parallel that I see between Spack and Holt, is their fieriness, their attention to detail, obviously their minds to call the right plays at the right times, and then just their, again, you want to play for those guys and you want to be held accountable, and that's what those guys do.
Yeah. From a personal standpoint, moving from Michigan to the Lafayette area, you have a home in West Lafayette. What prompted that? What made you want to come back here?
We were in Michigan. Had a chance really to live anywhere we wanted.
Yeah.
That was a little bit closer to home. My wife's from Canada.
Yeah.
Her mom and dad moved to Sarnia, which is about 2 hours away there in Port Huron. Had some businesses up there that I ran. I had an indoor football team that I had for 4 years called the Saginaw Sting. Owned the league that we played in, Continental Indoor Football League. I was the commissioner of it for 2 years. Absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Had a limousine company that I owned.
Yeah.
Personal training business.
You didn't have room to put it all on your business card. That's what I like. You had to get 4 different ones.
Well, I flipped it over and I had like 5 different logos on the back of it.
Yeah, I know you did.
So, I'm doing all this stuff, and my kids are getting older. I have a 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
My 4-year-old just turned 5 last week. I have an 10-month-old son. And I was just looking at the amount of hours I was putting into it and the payout I was getting. I was working for like 30 cents an hour.
Yeah.
So then I'm substituting time for these things, which really I don't know why I'm doing for my time with my family.
yeah.
So I started looking into the coaching aspect of it, made some calls, and through that got a hold of Kelly Kitchell, and Kelly Kitchell said, Stu, the radio station I used to work for is putting together this new sports talk show, 1017, and they have 2 hosts now. And so I called the GM, Chris Fleming,
Yeah.
had an interview with him down there, and I just thought it was a great opportunity, for one, to get back to where I had such a great time. My wife went to Purdue
Yeah.
as well, like I said. But the community, I just really love the community, and the West Side. All the school districts are
Yeah.
great, but West Side education is second to none. And then it was just amazing coming back. The last couple years in Michigan, every time my phone rang, I felt like it was always somebody wanting something.
Yeah.
And if I was asking anybody for help with anything, I was always waiting for the end of it. Well,
Yeah.
what are you going to give to me now? And this opportunity presented itself. My wife had the ability to get a job down here, and I thought, what a great time to make this move, and get back involved and be around the sport that I love. And I just thought it'd be great for my kids to grow up in that university environment. Hey, let's go check out a basketball game. Let's go to a soccer event. Let's go to a baseball game. And then, for 15 years, I haven't been able to talk Purdue football. So you can see right now I'm excited because California, no one cared. Michigan,
Yeah.
it's always Michigan State. Hey, Stu, who do you want to win Michigan State game? I'm like, I could care less because I don't really like either of those schools, So to be able to come down here and to talk it, and during the day as well, I go out and I sell radio spots,
Yeah.
ads for the stations that I work for. And it's funny because I'll talk to business owners who at the time were maybe 13, 14 years old, and I'm signing autographs
Yeah.
for them, and I remember the players when I had a chance to meet them, the players that I watched when I was in that 13 to 19-year-old range, and how it was cool to meet those guys. And now I'm kind of coming back because in Michigan and California it was, we heard that you were good or we saw some stuff, but here people went to the games, they remember certain plays. So just the tradition of it and being able to, when guys come back and help the university any way that I can. I mean, it's a perfect fit and really a true blessing to have this opportunity.
Yeah, you're gonna, and your energy will do well to take advantage of all of this. I know that for sure. Now, and you brought some swag for the show.
I did.
Now that number 9 jersey, that must have been you then.
Yes,
Okay.
it was.
And that
Yes.
is 1017 The Hammer, which you can obviously listen to on the this is Clayton. Clayton.
Yeah, that's Clayton Duffy.
Clayton stood at this, or was at this table for many, many years here at WLFI, and obviously a local radio stand. He has been around here for a long time,
Awesome.
doing this, and fun to work with from that standpoint. All right, now your homework assignment, because we'll have you back on in a period of time, because Mike DeFabo really wrote a great story on some of your struggles, and we'll leave that as the next topic in terms of what you've gone through. And the future of football, which is an interesting story. We're going to leave that as a tease because we'll have you back on the next month and hit that subject almost exclusively. But
Would also like just to add that me and Clayton plus Jared Jesselaitis and
Kyle Charters
will be doing the Boiler game day show every game day. This Thursday will be 3 to 7 at University Bookstore. So we're going to have some really good guests, former
I'm
players.
gonna be one of them.
Yeah, you're coming on.
There you go.
We've got some former players of each university, so it's going to be a really, really fun time.
Yeah, it's really good to have good local sports talk back in on a permanent basis here in Lafayette, and we know at Gold and Black we're happy to participate and be part of that. So we will get to that part next time. All right, one last question still. What does Purdue have to do to get through those first 4 weeks in terms of what do you see?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, obviously the quarterbacks have to have ball security. Either one of those guys I think are going to be great. We've got to establish a running game. We've got 3 or 4 good running backs. Health is always an issue with those guys, but again, making sure that we don't turn the ball over. We're going to have young guys step up, young receivers. I love the fact that our offensive line is probably our strongest part of our team. Defensively, we've got to take what the team gets us. If we have a chance for interception, we've got to get it. We can't have pass, PBUs or, a nice tackle. We got to get off the field, get the ball back in our offense's hands. Don't give up the big play, and then I think just, probably just not giving up the big play and just making sure that, again, we capitalize. Anytime that other team gives us a chance to get the ball back in our offense's hands, got to do it.
It's interesting that the defensive guy talks about what the defense has to do, and he's absolutely right on that as well. All right, well, Stu, thanks so much
Yeah.
for your time, and we're going to let you run off to your show, which starts at 4 o'clock. Then you have McCutcheon West Side tonight.
McCutcheon West Side.
Interesting game as well.
That's on 98.7 WISK.
And that will be a good one after West Side's big win last week. Want to thank also Tim Newton and Brian Newbert, Matt Stevens for joining us on the show. Show number 1 down and only 25 more to go, but we look forward to that every Friday pretty much between 2 and 3 o'clock. We have Mike Babinski coming up, Tom Deanhart, Jason Biedico, others that are making news in Purdue sports we'll be having on our show. So thanks again to our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn, Triple X, John Basham, the good folks at Basham Rental, and also, like I said, all the people that when you come and watch us every week, and if you miss part of the show, you'll get your chance to, we'll put it up on the site here in about a half hour or so, and you can watch the replay. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We'll look forward to talking. We'll have a lot to talk about next Friday. It'll be post-Purdue Northwestern. So have a great week, everybody. See you in Ross-Ade Stadium, hopefully for the game next Thursday, and we'll be back next Friday on Gold and Black Live.